Ayo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed, the vortex.
Peace, peace, peace. I'm your host Cyclonius, and of course the main man here, Kevin. I'd like to say welcome back to the Real Talk with Kevin show. Today we are diving into something we all need but sometimes take for granted: friendships. What does it really mean to have a true friend? How do we deal with toxic ones? And why is real connection one of life's greatest gifts? Let's get into it. Okay, so our opening, bruv, is setting the foundation. Yeah. So my first question to you when dealing with friendship is, what truly defines a real friend in today's society?
Hey, that's a deep one, isn't it? You know, it's very personal, that, and really based on the sum of your experiences. So for me personally, honesty, respect, loyalty, and acceptance.
Okay.
You know, I think acceptance is one of the things that, especially when that's hard for me, acceptance. But there are things that people do that you can accept. It's like in your relationship with your missus, your partner, or whatever. There's certain things that you're going to have to take on the chin and accept, or not. But there's a certain degree where you know you've got to accept that your love or your liking for someone outweighs some of the little things they do that annoy you. You know, so I think it's very personal to everyone, but I think loyalty, respect and honesty are some of the key ones. People may disagree with that, but I think they are significant in most friendships.
Well, what I want you to do is, like, after every question, I want to give the audience watching an opportunity so they, you know, they can give their thoughts and feelings on what we're talking about right now. So yeah, please, you know, give us your definition of a real friend in today's society, so that we can read it at the end and maybe just have more dialogue on that. Anyway, so as we move forward, how do we know the difference between a true connection and just a casual acquaintance?
Sometimes it's consistency and longevity of it. Acquaintances sometimes are self-determined, didn't they? So depending on the sort of interactions you have with people. I mean, I was talking with my friend about another old friend the other day, and we was having this conversation. I sort of released some information that he didn't know in regards to my feelings to this old friend, and I said, you know, even though we've all known each other a long time, there's always been this sort of disconnect in communication. I've always found it difficult communicating with this old friend, even from when we were young. So our friendship didn't build as a consequence of that. So even though we've known each other a long time, I wouldn't class him as my deep-rooted friend.
Right.
It's still sort of an acquaintance, and I think it's still, again, quite personal how you decide who's an acquaintance or not. I mean, a lot of the time it's based on your expectations of someone, yeah, or the proximity to someone.
Yeah.
Workplace relationships and friendships usually are based more so on proximity, because a large amount of the time in institutions, loads of people in that institution you would never be friends with in your life. Yeah, but because of proximity and seeing someone daily, that develops into a friendship.
Yeah.
Even the newsagent guy or the shopkeeper that you go into on a regular, because of the constant connection day in and day out, that can become a friendship. But at the same time, a lot of the time it doesn't become a real friendship. It becomes sort of an acquaintance. Even though you're talking, they don't delve into the real depth of your personal life, and you don't delve into the depths of their personal life. You know, so I think there are sort of decisions that are made based on proximity, and also based on your feelings towards a person. There are so many different factors, whether it's based on culture, whether it's based on religion. You know, you might see the shopkeeper on a regular basis, and you're Christian and they're Muslim. Depending on your feelings about Islam, and depending on their feelings about Christianity, there may be a good connection, but the connection doesn't converge in the way to create a real friendship because of those aspects, those religious aspects. So you don't know what's going on in people's heads, and sometimes amongst people there's a decision that's made by both of them that's unseen. So really it's the religious element that's keeping them as not involved in a friendship, but as an acquaintance. So there's a real deep depth to why that does or doesn't happen.
Okay, interesting. And again, we'd like to open it up to you guys. You know, if you know the difference between a true connection or just a casual acquaintance, please let us know so I can read it out at the end of these questions for further dialogue. So following that, do people underestimate the importance of quality over quantity when it comes to friends?
I think it depends on what stage of life you're at. You know, when you're young, you want everyone around you. Like, I look at me getting excited, getting nostalgic, because that's the life I led. And I know a lot of people, when they're young, they have so many people around them. And then as you get older, they'll get whittled away and put in the sieve and shaken through, and only a few are left, and the rest end up going. So I think when you're younger, the excitement, the adrenaline, the wanting to be known, the finding yourself, the exploration of self puts you in contact with lots of different people. But as you get older, and there's certain things that you won't put up with, and a certain type of people you want around you more, you sort of sift out the bad ones, and then you're left with what you wanted. You know, so I think that generationally, it's you can see the difference. Young people nowadays are in contact a lot more with a load more people, especially through social media. How can you be in contact with thousands or millions of people? You couldn't do that back in the day.
That's right.
You know, but are those real friendships online? You know, are they acquaintances, or are they something else? Can it be called something else? Because what actually makes an acquaintance, and what is the label for someone that you meet online, and that's your relationship? I don't know if there's a name for that.
Again, how do you guys feel about that one? I don't know. I would label them as followers. That's how that's how the social media bit is. So I don't know. Are you a follower? Are you a friend? Who knows? But you mentioned a few things that I wanted to go into, which is loyalty, trust, and honesty. One sec. Sorry about that. Here's a question for you. How important is loyalty in a friendship, and what does it really look like?
In most situations, you've got that person's back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be like all situations, really. You know, there should be an unwavering decision to always support your friend in any time of need or whatever's going on. You know, I've got a few friends that I know that I can call on at any given moment, and they'll be there for me. And for me, that's loyalty. It's unspoken.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's been tested. So, and that's without it being a test. Situation has arisen. Maybe I've had to make a call, and something's happened straight away. You know, and that's happened with a few people. Or, you know, for me, when it comes to friends and pride and ego, I've acknowledged mine and understood that it was hard for me to ask for things from people or from friends. When I'm still overcoming that barrier, but when I feel that I have to ask or I need to ask, I know a few people that are on it. And because they know who and how I am, they're willing to support me in whatever way I need. So I think that's real loyalty. The honesty. Who's truly honest? You know, we sort of navigate in between honesty, out of honesty. We mess about with honesty. You know, we it's not really always honest. You know, sometimes you have to lie to make people feel better. You know, and not to make them feel upset about themselves, whether it's about their weight, their looks, how they dress, or whatever it is. Especially people close to you. You know, sometimes they say a good friend tells you the truth. Yeah, but if you know if you're a good friend of someone, and you know how fragile they are, why are you going to tell them the truth? You might have to steer them in a direction where they improve on whatever. Yeah, rather than telling them the truth, and then crushing their soul. So, you know, that's the one with honesty. I mean, we can expand on all this because everything's quite a deep talk. But I mean, these topics, but we haven't got the time. What's the other one, Neville?
Which one?
Honesty, loyalty, and trust.
Yeah.
For me, trust. That's one of the biggest ones of the lot. You know, if you can't, and then there's degrees of trust. All right, I can trust Neville around my missus. That friend I can't. But that friend in every other area is great.
Right.
But Neville I can't trust around my money. So I know I can't lend him some money, or I can't have him around any money. You know, so there's different degrees, and you know, most people know that they've got friends that they trust with this, but they don't trust with that. Yeah, it's not. I don't know how common it is to have trust holistically with someone. There are a few friends that I've got that trust with, but there's a few friends that I've got that I still consider friends that I trust in certain areas, but I might not trust so much in other areas.
Right.
You know, and over time you see people develop and that trust build up. I mean, I've changed. I was at certain points in time I could be a shysty guy.
Well, did friendship help you come out of those situations?
The shystiness, I think my own development and my own self-awareness, and my own, you know, as a person that studied Kung Fu for over 26 years, I had a certain outlook on the person that I wanted to be based on the old school Kung Fu guy in the film. So they always used to have this guy in the Kung Fu films that was a really humble guy. People might take the mickey out of him and he'd always be calm and take it on the chin. The only time he would rile up is when someone comes to attack his family. And because of that, my development was based on having that purity about myself, not worrying about anything else, but defending those close to me. You know, so my self-awareness up from the person I was, I always wanted to develop into this sort of Kung Fu master, humble guy. That's what I wanted to be. So that drove me to the place to the person that I wanted to become. And some people have got that with different things, and some people haven't got that, and they just sort of float around or get stuck in the 1980s or 1990s and don't develop, you know. So I think self-awareness is a real big factor, you know, in friendships and your development.
I hear you. Why do you think trust is so fragile in friendships, and how can it be rebuilt if broken?
There's a lot of the attachment with your mum. We'll start with mum. Yeah, it's really a thing in child development where you become trusting of someone really close to you. Yeah, there's other aspects, but that is one of your main relationships in life, you and mummy. Yeah, so you build up an understanding of trust, and then you go out into the big wide world, and then you've developed these expectations based on what your mum would do. But that's your mum.
Yeah.
Your mum's going to do everything for you if the mum is working, you know, not being abusive, being the, as Winnicott would say, the good enough mother. If you're being the good enough mother, you go above and beyond for your child. I think sometimes, whether consciously or unconsciously, there's expectations, more unconsciously as a child, that as you grow up, people are going to treat you in the same manner. Then they don't.
Yeah.
You know, that can be heartbreaking, but you learn along the way and you take the blows. You develop a level of resilience and understanding that people are different and won't treat you like your mum. You know, but you're trying to get as good as you can get in regards to the trust. But rebuilding trust, that's so personal. You know, rebuilding trust with me is hard work. Once you cross the line, and you know, there's factors that play a real significant role in how you rebuild trust, or your ability to rebuild trust. I'm an only child. It was just me and my mum. I haven't had the luxury of understanding how to engage in conflict emotionally, verbally, through communication, or physically with a sibling or a cousin or whatever, because it was just me and my mum in this country. So learning how to involve yourself in conflict, be upset, and then come back and heal and repair. I never learnt that skill. So a lot of the time when there's any sort of animosity or conflict and the trust is broken, you're gone. Yeah. And I've still been trying to work through that and develop. I think my other half, she's helping me with that. And she's a therapist, and there are things that I'm overcoming in regards to just cutting people off. But I think rebuilding trust is very personal to everyone, and some people, I think, especially when you've got larger families, have got a greater ability, because you're interpersonal relationships and you're discord with your brother, sister, uncle, auntie, cousin, or whatever, and those dynamics have built up the skills to be able to rebuild after trust is broken. You know, for me it's very hard, but for other people, I take my hat off to them. I admire people that get into situations that are heart-wrenching or upsetting, and they can still, my missus is like that, she can still rebuild that friendship or keep it moving. For me, I have to, you know, it's like getting cancer and you have to cut something off. I have to cut it off, but I'm still working with that.
I hear that. How do you guys think about that question and about rebuilding a relationship if it's broken? Is it easy? Is it hard? Let us know in the comments again so I can just flick through and read them at the end. I wanted to go into, I think, challenges and red flags. How do we know when a friendship has become toxic or one-sided?
You know, the toxicity, a lot of the time, well, for me, especially, I'm not a religious person. I'd say that in some capacity I'm a spiritual person. But there's a lot of people that are more in tune than others with energy.
Right.
And the sort of projections that people push out there or push into you. So when a toxic relationship, when a relationship or friendship starts becoming toxic, one, if it's overtly communicated through shouting and in an abusive way, it's easy to know that this relationship ain't working. But when it's, this is when it gets a bit deeper, when it's someone that you've known for years and you're developed and they've stayed the same, then that's when you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
So someone can be stuck in 1990, but you've developed and ascended into 2025. But you can't, the relationship's not become toxic because they've changed. It's become toxic because you've changed. Now, because you've developed and they're still rabbiting on about the same thing, it's depleting your energy.
Yeah.
You can't take it. Sometimes you'll have conversations. You know that one when you pick up, you see the phone, you see the name, and you're like, because you know it's going to take a lot of energy out of you.
Yeah.
I think for me there's a lot of different levels of toxicity. It can be abusive and overwhelming, and people need to go. But also it can be just wearing and draining. And you not being able to accept the person that you used to accept because you've developed and they've stayed the same.
Yeah.
Where you could accept and you engaged in their characteristics and their personality. Now you've moved on. It's like this. Sometimes you develop into an adult and you're dealing with a friend that's still a child. You can't manage that anymore. But it's all the energy draining stuff, the projections into you. Sometimes people that you've been around for a really long time as a friend, it's only until you go into adulthood you realise they're your biggest hater. And you can feel it.
Yeah.
And you've heard about it before. You used to ignore it. You know, the guy that looks at your woman sneakily, the guy that gets upset now you realise because you've got new stuff, but that person was close to you. You know, for me it can be a really upsetting thing, having this realisation that one of the people that was closest to you over time can't be around you anymore.
So I'm gonna ask you, like, do you think it's okay to outgrow friends, and how do we let go without guilt?
Again, that's down to the individual. I can let that out, you know, and I'm still working it. Like I said, I can let go without any guilt.
Yeah.
I can let go with anger, yeah, and that makes it easier. And a lot of time for me, it's with anger, because I'm upset that the friendship's broken down. I'm upset that you went on like that. I'm upset that you decided to talk about that or whatever it is, and I'm angry and I'm cutting you. You know, for some people, I've had the back and forth dialogue with people about the same situation, and there's people that can't cut people.
Right.
They need them. It doesn't matter how toxic they are, you know, and whether that's a consequence of being brought up in a toxic environment when you're young, being used to toxicity, and then when you're in any friendship, it doesn't matter, that's what you're used to. You're used to toxic relationships and you can accept it. And I've seen people and spoke to people and said, boy, you know, I wouldn't accept that. But then it's like marriage. I don't say those things anymore. I don't want to influence anyone. It's like you getting in, you're on the outside looking in, and you can see someone's relationship, how toxic it is. But I'm not going to affect it. I'm not going to, with my words or whatever I communicate, I'm not going to have an impact on you leaving or staying. I'm not going to do that, because ultimately, when you step up to the altar, it's for life. And if you can manage through all the challenges, and I'm an onlooker, and in year 5 I would say, I said to you, you should leave, and you left. Now that's one thing, but imagine I don't say anything and you work through it and then you stay married for life. I would have influenced it and broke down your relationship, you know, so yeah, it's hard work.
Definitely. Guys, what do you think about that question there? How do we let go without guilt? I wanted to go into...
Sorry, Nev, let me say one thing. I mean,
go on.
The guilt element, for me, a lot of people will feel guilty because of the history that you've had with a person.
Right.
You know what I mean? That history is deep. And to let go, you know, because some people are still, over years, that person that you've let go will pop up in your head. The good memories that you had with them, you know. And it is heart-wrenching. And there might be a real consistent frequency of that popping up in your head, especially when it's fresh. And even in later years, because you love that person so much, it will still pop up.
Yeah.
and there'll still be a feeling of guilt. I mean, hopefully there'll be a time when you've established a sense of acceptance. You know.
Definitely. Again, I want to move now into growth and evolution. I wanted to ask you, like, can a true friend become more like family, and what makes that shift happen?
You know, an only child. I've got quite a few brothers. I feel that Cyclonius is one of my new brothers. We're moving in that direction quite speedily, you know. But it's a relational element. It's an acceptance element. It's a consistency element. Going through stuff over the years, seeing the good and bad in people.
Yeah.
But there's always this quality. I mean, I've got about 5 or 6 brothers.
Yeah.
That are non-biological and not in the washing your clothes sense, you know what I mean? So for me, you know, and I've seen and people know of families that are fractured, yeah, and even some close families that are fractured have become fractured by circumstance, and no one expected that, especially in bereavement and death of maybe a mum or a dad.
Yeah.
You know, and that is upsetting, seeing such a close-knit family never talk again until they're going to one of their siblings' funerals. And that brings them together and then sort of projects into all of them a sense of guilt. You know, but when it comes to...
How can a true friend become more like family?
Yeah, when it comes to friends and then becoming family, I mean, I've lived that. I was with one of my brothers the other day, Dr. Mark Prince, and it's so funny how our relationships developed. And I've always thought about why it developed, being the person he was and being the person I was. And because sometimes in relationships and friendships, there's something you see in someone that you either want or you either need, and that's why you become their friend. So because my friend back in the day, Dr. Mark Prince, is a true Puritan now in regards to kindness, well-being and helping people, you know, he could be quite rough around the edges. And maybe beat you up if you're talking nonsense or whatever. So in reflection, I started thinking, I wonder if I needed him for protection. I didn't feel like a slouch. Or was it that I just liked the hard man image and I wanted to be next to him? You know, so sometimes it's like how you involve yourself in certain groups. Why do you involve yourself in certain groups? What's the characteristics of that group that draw you in? Sometimes it's something that you haven't got. There's members in that group that have got qualities that you haven't got, that you just like being there. You know, so for me, a lot of my friendships that have become like family, sometimes I think to myself, is it about something I need from them?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's them being a protective factor, whether it's them making me feel happier every time I see them. There's something that you need from these people that ultimately aren't your family, but then become some people that you'd sacrifice your life for in the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, that's my life.
Yeah.
For other people, they have friends like that, but they've got such a large family network that that's their foundation first. And all right, they've got close friends, but they're outside of that boundary of their family. You know.
Funny you say that, 'cause I want to move into the power of connection. And I want to ask you, what does a strong friendship do for our mental health and our overall well-being?
Look, you enter into a friendship. I mean, friendships are complex things. I mean, we could talk for years about the interrelated elements of friendships, and the networking of friendships. But in regards to having a true friend that can support you or supports you through most things, that you can pick up the phone and talk to and feel good about, or you share a common activity and you go to Kung Fu or you go badminton on a regular basis. Maybe if you're a bit older, your kids are connected, your families are intertwined because you've been friends for so long. Like, it's a beautiful thing. You know, in any crisis, you know someone's got your back. When you've got to organise something, you know, organising a christening or whatever it is, it's not always easy. If you've got no money and that person's always there supporting you financially or economically, and that level is reciprocated, you're feeling good. And even when you're not feeling good, that person's uplifting and can bring you around.
Right.
And turn it around so that you're feeling all right. I mean, having good friends, apart from that, you know, having good family and having good friends is essential. We're social animals. You know, we need that. We need the connection, and we need it to be good. You know, it's funny that the planet is looking a bit messy at the moment, and chaotic, and people are going mad and doing really strange things nowadays that sort of disturb me. But the majority of the people on the planet are still connected by love and decency and a great moral code. I mean, even in England, it's funny, you know, queuing's quite a funny concept. There's no law to queue, but people do it. Their moral compass, there's an order.
Yeah.
People walk on the street. It happens on the odd occasion, but 9 times out of 10, people avoid people when they're walking in their way. People still hold the door open and people say thank you. You know, there's rude people out there, but the majority of people out there, they're nice, they're all connected by love.
How does having true friends protect us from loneliness in a world that feels more disconnected?
Well, I think just a presence and knowing that you've got an option to talk to someone. I think true loneliness can be observed, especially in old people, whether their partner's died or they hadn't had a partner for a long time, and they're sitting in their house flat or wherever, maybe in an old people's home and no one's visiting them. That level of loneliness, I'm observing it now. I'm observing that with one person in particular, and for me it's heartbreaking, and it's something that sets in my mind that I don't want that level of loneliness. So having anyone around to communicate with you can take you from the brinks of despair to a place of happiness and well-being. So I think friends are essential. I think just being in communication with people, you don't have, now you're lucky, you don't have to have someone in front of your face to be able to be communicating with people on a regular basis. But that also creates a different sort of social isolation where you're not actually physically in contact with people. But those are the thoughts of people from my generation. We're moving on. Just like human history develops, we've developed socially and technologically in a different way.
Yeah.
So as much as might talk about social isolation through social media, how do we know how that's going to pan out in the next 10 to 20 years? That might be the norm. The streets might not have many people on the streets. Crime's rising, police are disenfranchised, the streets are messy, they're not even getting clean. We're talking about England here, you know. There's a lot of home entertainment keeping people inside their houses. We don't know in the next, COVID gave us a sort of template of homeschooling, that it can be done. And as behaviour gets worse in schools and they can't manage it, what will happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of children missing in education that are not even attending school. How else can you educate them? You educate them at home. You have home entertainment. You can connect with people from home. There might be barren wastelands, and I'm not saying that in a Mad Max sense, but there might be hardly anyone on the streets in the next 10 to 20 years.
Because online provides it all, basically.
Yeah, and people will be connected anyway. And people might say, oh, you're socially isolated, but no. What's it? It's a new normal. I hate that saying. Yeah, that's what we'll be. And then look how many over time's become the new normal. Imagine the first time a car came on the road, or a road was built, you know, and then cars populated the streets, more streets were built. Like, that must have been a mind bender for people at that time.
That's right.
So, you know, it's just the normal level of human progression.
So do you think deep friendships are harder to find in the social media age?
I think there's a different dynamic. I think if you're of the older generation, that's hard. If you're the younger generation, that's easy. I can't see how there can be an in-depth level of connectivity because I know when I see clients online, there's a bit of a discord compared to having clients in the room. There's something missing, you know. The projections you can't feel. There's that emotion, that all the emotional elements seem a bit detached. Even though it's good, you're communicating, but there's something in the room that you feel that can't be replicated on the screen. You know, so it's. I think being in close proximity is very important, but not necessary if you're moving with a sort of new generation or way of existing.
I hear you. Like with more of that, the new generational people as well, innit? Way of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to move just briefly into that boundaries and balance. How do we set healthy boundaries in friendships without pushing people away?
Like that is development over time.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time, you know, there's an unconscious fit with someone, so you become a friend because of some unconscious element, but there's a relational element. You'd never, there's a lot of the time, unless it's based on nationality or religion, even then, there's some similarity in how you are as people. Maybe the way you are with your manners, maybe the way you are with your children. Sorry, can you repeat that for me again?
How do we set healthy boundaries in friendships without pushing people away?
Yeah, but there has to be some common ground that you establish, that you feel that you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once those boundaries from someone else starts getting pushed, based really on your expectations, because how you are and the friendship you've developed, you expect them to be what you expect them to be, what you want, you know, like you. And then when that doesn't happen, you know, creating the boundaries over time is a mixture of mistakes, you know, doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing. And some people have hard time creating those boundaries. Imagine now you develop a relationship or a friendship with someone that lives in your block. And they keep on coming down to ask you for stuff. Now it was all right at first. Now you've got to say something, yeah? Creating that boundary because you really like them.
Yeah.
Yeah? Creating that boundary then for some people is really hard. Some people will ignore it and have that going on even though they're feeling upset about it, and it will continue on and it won't stop. Some people might just not answer the door. And then afterwards that person gets the message, but then they get upset.
Yeah.
You know? Or some people have got the guile to address it. and say something. And that person, if they like that person enough, will be able to take that and understand it, and then they'll keep it moving, and then a boundary has been set. It's very difficult to set boundaries. Sometimes the boundaries are not spoken. I've had problems in the past with certain people setting boundaries, because after you've done something or gone on a certain way, I've wanted to cut you, but there's something about you that I'm still invested in and hoping, so I've had to go away for a while. And I think that's given a message. Yeah, and then we've connected again. That's not the best way.
I hear you.
That was my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of how I was brought up. But that's one of the ways that I dealt with it. So I know setting boundaries is hard work, but if you've got the ability to set boundaries and deal with because setting boundaries sometimes involves uncomfortable, difficult conversations.
That's right.
You know, some people can't deal with that. I know that at a point in time that was something I couldn't deal with. But those people that can deal with that, they can repair things and set boundaries very well. And you know, and we talked about honesty. There's honesty in the friendship through that.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so I wanted to close it down now. On a high note,
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned from a true friend?
Acceptance. Acceptance, you know, sometimes you have to accept people for who they are. You know, their good and bad bits. As long as, for me, you know, it's personal, my mechanisms of how I assess things. So I've got a weighted mechanism that operates with friendships and relationships. It's about the good outweighing the bad. If the good is 50% and the bad is 50%, that's not good for me.
Right.
You're gonna have to go. Yeah. But if the good is 80 or 90% and the bad is 10 or 20%, you're going to stay. You know, so acceptance for me is one of the big things in friendships. I think sometimes extinguishing expectations in friendship, sometimes your own expectations of your friends are unrealistic. Why would you expect your friend to be just like you? They can't be. No one's identical to someone else. And people are human. They make mistakes. I have a problem accepting mistakes in my friendship world, you know. But over time I've learnt to understand, all right, a situation happened to me not too long ago. And I was very hurt by it. But I overcame it in the best way I've ever overcome anything for years in regards to hurt.
Yeah.
I haven't cut them off, I haven't sidelined them. I've talked to them about the situation. I wouldn't have been able to do that before. You know, so I understand that humans make mistakes, and it's as long as you're not making mistake after mistake after mistake without caring about me, I can now absorb that now. But I mean, friendship's a very deep thing. To find true loyal friends is hard work. To get to a place where you don't base your friendship on expectations takes a lot of work. But the one thing is that there has to be this level of honesty where you can talk to your friend about the difficult things and you can still move forward together, connected by love. Nothing more, nothing less.
So how do friends help us discover who we really are?
I think sometimes by pushing the boundaries, by putting you in situations that you've never been in before, taking to a place and involving you in activities you've never involved in before. I mean, cultural elements, religious elements always come into play. When you make friends with someone from a different nationality, and now you start eating the Turkish gözleme or the Swedish, they do this hot dog thing with potato around it on a stick. Weird. But if you're eating that, you know, it exposes you to different foods. People expose you to different things generally.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that exposure serves you well in all different aspects, whether it's culture, food, music, dance, whatever. You know how much people never been Notting Hill Carnival, and then exposed to that, something different come out of that.
Yeah, that's right. Last question for you. What makes friendship one of the greatest gifts in life?
Everyone will have a different answer to this. Yeah. I think it's, you know, friendships, because it's so varied, because you get so much from the people that are your friends in different ways, because you get support, you get laughter, you get everything. You know, apart from your children and your family, human connection is everything. Your friendships are everything, and you know, because when your friends die, when each of them starts going down, that part is taken from you. When my friend died, my friend Mark Palmer died, rest in peace Mark Palmer, when he died, my comic side had gone. Our hip hop, even though my hip hop side's still there, the hip hop connection that we had was gone. So that took part of me. When my friend Richie died, what a lovely guy, rest in peace, Richard Craigie. That part of me was gone. The deep conversations we used to have in his kitchen, or sitting on the floor, that was gone. So you know, with everyone that passes on, there's part of you that doesn't get to express itself in that form anymore. So I don't go to comic conventions anymore, even though I'm a 55-year-old man. I know me and Mark would have still been going, but that time's gone. The in-depth conversations, all right, I still have in-depth conversations, but the types of one I used to have with Richie, and the connection we had with training, that's gone. You know, and with those losses, you understand how much is valued in the friendships you have.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so let's check these. Let's check to see if anybody's been interacting or if they've just been listening. Let's see what they've got going on there. Hold on. Let's have a little scan. Big up Raven there, our salute family. He just said real talks in regards to friendship circles. Big up to Ray. Do you know what? There's a lot of people popping up in and out of this thing, but I don't really think I can see any questions. And that's fine. It's just good to have everybody there and rolling with us through the journey. So let me just talk to them for the outro. Again, this has been another deep dive on the Real Talk with Kevin show. If today has taught us anything, it's friendships isn't just about having people around you, it's about connection, loyalty, growth and love. Surround yourself with those who bring out the best in you. So until the next time, much love and stay real. Peace.
Yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex.